Alright, what up guys? So today we're not going to have a review. Instead we're going to talk about the current status of the pomade market and kind of what we can expect in the near future in terms of products and then kind of market changes. And this video is intended for both like the consumer, you, and also the brewers, the few of you guys who are actually cooking at the pomade and want to really evolve and like really take advantage of where like the market's headed. And the reason why I'm creating this video is actually to kind of prep you guys for the best pomades of 2015 video, and also give me time to go ahead and do my research, run through like one product a day in order to create that best pomades of 2015 video. And the reason why I'm creating that video is, I mean, not really for myself. Like I had not planned to make that video. I didn't want to. But the thing is, there have been all these lists popping up, and they've been created by like these kind of aggregation sites, and so they basically put on like onto a list whatever pomade companies will pay them or whatever pomade companies like come up first in a Google search, and that literally just allows them to get the visitors they want, to hit the numbers, basically collect people like coming across the site and just make money off ads. And these lists therefore don't really point you in the right direction. They actually are really misleading. And so I'm not comfortable with that. I'm actually extremely upset with that. So I decided to just create this video where the pomades are actually validated and verified, and at least put you guys in the right direction instead of having you guys waste money on like other products that are just what they found on a Google search. So yeah, I mean, hey, it's the internet, right? But anyways, this video. So we're going to talk about like three main points. We're going to talk about product development, companies or brewers and labels, and then we're just going to talk about kind of the international scene and stuff like that. Here I'm in the US, so domestic, what I mean by domestic is here in the US. Any sort of foreign thing will be outside the US and stuff like that, just to give you guys perspective. So let's talk about products right now. So we are in a time of transition in this market. Whether you're new to the pomade game or you've been here for a while, you might have noticed that there are a huge selection of products, and names are starting to get confusing. And so if you go back like 5-10 years, basically this market was dominated by like oil-based products or variations of it, and the other half was dominated by like salon, kind of really light styling products. And so we've seen a transition thanks to the internet, a move away from these large companies over to home brewing. And the reason why is just the internet allows the one small person out of the home to gain access to the same market, the same audience. One of those large companies used to dominate because they had like the ad or like the PR agencies and stuff like that. So now we've seen like a leveling of the playing field. We've seen like Old Dudes, Lockhart's, Sheer Revival, Rust, and all these new like home brewing companies pop up out of nowhere, and not only pop up but also have like great success. And this is important because now we get some really clever product development. So you have to take into account all these products before were always cooked up in a lab, and a lot of them cooked in like the same lab. Like Gar Labs over in LA cooks for Baxter, like a great many of the products you see. A huge variety of products all cooked out of the same cosmetic labs. And so the issue was when like you go to these labs, they have these little like gimmicks and stuff. Like the idea is to like make money and stuff like that. And so you have like the typical gimmicks, clay fibers, creams, like just the general like range of products. And that's why you see this general range of products under different labels, yet they're like all the same, like fiber cream, grooming creams, like styling balms, stuff like that. And so these things, people don't really expect innovation. It's just like the same game over and over. But now with home brewers, because they don't have access to the lab and they don't even like know about that whole game, what they're focused on, like all they know is like, if I make a good product, then like I have a good business. And so what we see now is the development and the pushing of borders. Like for example, let's talk about water-based products. So take back only like a year now, water-based pomade, that means a gel pomade. Or I mean back then it was just called water-based pomade, period. And you get like Suavecito, Lay Right, Boulevard Night, Steadfast, and those are all cooked out of like labs. I mean, it might even be cooked out of the same lab. and it was just standardly accepted that, hey, water base is gonna dry, and that's just how it's gonna be. Like, you just didn't expect more, and it was accepted. And so now we have a home brewer interpreting like what a water base means. Like, water based pomade means the same pomade, same exact style and characteristics, except it happens to be water based instead. And then you get the rise of the old dude's water based. Then you get Shiver Up Bible Crystal, like Rustin, like Supreme Pomade. You get all these like new water based pomades that actually never dry, that perform like an oil base, like perform like a true grease pomade, like 90%, and yet they can be washed out as convenient as a gel. And so you see these borders being pushed by these home brewers who aren't just in the money making mass production game. There's like, all they know is, I make a good product, I have a successful business, so I need to make a good product. And so definitely we can expect huge like new strides in innovation being like made by these home brewers. And so my prediction, I was talking to Rustin about this actually the other day, the company Rustin Pomade, and I'm thinking next move is clay pomade. After water-based pomades have been like totally nailed down and like gotten 100% correct, clay pomade is the next thing to go. Because right now these labs, they're like, hey, I think you can kind of like branch out your product line if you add clay. They just throw in clay to like a water-based pomade, and it still acts like a water-based pomade, but they get to say it has clay in it. And so that's not what a clay truly is. We've only really seen one clay that performs beautifully. And so what we can expect out of homebrewers in the near future is to get like some clays that like finally just give you texture, hold, and like don't harden up like the water-based clays, or like just aren't too like detrimental to your hair, you know? So that's what I think is going to happen in the near future with clays. That's what we can definitely expect. And this is just going to grow exponentially. Next, homebrewers, labels, and stuff like that. I guess we already really touched that on before, but we can definitely expect some of the larger names to kind of fade away. Any sort of company that's really just content in keeping their like main set of products, we're gonna see them disappear and stuff like that. I mean, the pomade market is like, it's a small market. I mean, it's like no one really knows about this whole community that exists that we have and stuff like that. And so it's not in the light, but it doesn't mean we're really different from anything else. Like, products change over time. The iPhone gets updated, like technology changes, and the pomade might not be like a Megatronic like system, but like it's still something that needs to advance and change over time to keep up with, you know, the changing times. And so any sort of company that I mean, this whole section is more targeted to you brewers and stuff like that, but if you choose to basically stay content with what you have, you will fall behind and you will be forgotten. Like, Old Dudes is barely a year old, yet it is one of the biggest names in this like niche homebrewing community now. And why? Because Clayton isn't afraid to like push boundaries and stuff like that. He isn't afraid to do something different, and that's literally all it takes, is to try something new, like create something that people didn't think could ever be made. If you keep on repeating this oil based, just like changing the new scent game, then you're not gonna go anywhere. Those companies are just like, oh, we're gonna release a limited edition. I changed the scent from like kind of like cedar to like a green apple. It's like, that's cool. Like, congratulations, you changed the scent. Like, you're gonna fall behind. I mean, like, people get impressed by little nifty changes in the scent, but things need to be advanced and stuff like that. And that's why we're seeing these new like awesome water based. They get stronger, they get even more like easily washed out, yet they still maintain this amazing like control and performance. And so I mean, as the Pomp, I feel responsibility to kind of be harsh in that regard, and also like at the same time help these like brewers to really push more. And then I mean, we are in a great period right now. We're seeing like new products all the time. And lastly, what I want to touch on real quick is the international scene and stuff like that. So whether or not you want to argue like where pomade started, doesn't really matter. US has one of the largest like pomade communities and like development and stuff like that. And so typically in general, if you want to see where like pomades on the home brewing side are being developed and innovated like the quickest, you'll look to American home brewers and stuff like that. And so it's also led to like the internet and our ability to communicate like across like borders and stuff like that has led to a great number of like international brewers and labels. For example, a label, not an actual brewer, the Damon Barber. We have there's a great line in the UK. You also have now like the whole Moore's Motley thing over in Australia. What else? What else? Can't think of it top of my head right now. But I mean, we have these pockets like in the UK, Singapore, Malaysia, Indonesia, Australia. These little pockets where like pomade is also being developed and stuff like that. But we still have like certain areas in like the Asian continent where we look at like Indonesia, for example, where their kind of community typically really like absorbs American culture like a sponge. I mean, fixies were popular, oh my god, it's like 10 years ago now, and they popped up over there in a huge craze, I'd say 3 or 4 years after they really picked up here in the US. And these sort of like trends really pick up like quickly from the US over there. So now pomade and the pompadours picked up over here, picked up about 5 years ago. We saw that this trend popping up over there about 2 3 years ago, like really picking up. And the only issue with that, like there's no problem with that at all. The only issue is we've seen a lot of innovation development happen in like many other countries and stuff like that, but we haven't really seen an amazing product pop up out of there, just because there's a lot of mimicking rather than development happening over there. So like we see like an oil-based like pomade over here, like kind of recreated like over there, still using the same ingredients, and as long as they keep on just doing that, as long as they keep on mimicking, they're never going to develop their own like sort of unique product, which is what we had just randomly seen from like Australia and UK. And it's just like just interesting to see. It's always interesting to see how like much like how the interesting way in which they digest like American culture, and how it's brought in, how it's idolized rather than kind of like borrowed, you know. So if it's going to be idolized so much, then if you keep on looking up to America or an American product, you're never going to be able to surpass it if that's always going to be like your ceiling that you're looking at. So hopefully in the near future we will see more Indonesians not looking at these like American products as their goal anymore, and just developing their own unique strain variation, like rendition of a pomade. And so yeah, I mean, the international scene will be interesting in the near future as well. Like we're definitely gonna be seeing good things, so keep an eye out for that. But yeah, other than that, I just want to give you guys a quick like wasn't even quick, but like a summary, a generalization of what is currently going on in the pomade market. And yeah, so hope you guys got something out of that. And other than that, if you're a brewer, if you're a consumer, I hope at least your mind was expanded somewhat. And other than that, take care.